Last night, the Carolina Hurricanes were able to make a phenomenal comeback to take Game 1 against the New York Rangers in Round 2. Find out just how they managed to pull this off in today's episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, I'd like to thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Thursday afternoon. And follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes. Myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And rate the show 5 stars on whatever streaming platform you're listening on, and subscribe on YouTube. And as I mentioned, the Carolina Hurricanes were able to make a great comeback to take Game 1 from the New York Rangers last night. This game was, I would say, first 40 minutes, extremely frustrating. The Carolina Hurricanes just didn't look awake. The New York Rangers, they were controlling the game, controlling the pace. And to go into the third period and be down only 1-0 is nothing short of a miracle. Because had they had another goaltender in between the pipes last night, they could have headed into that third period down 3-0, 4-0. But thankfully, Antti Raanta was able to really bail the Hurricanes out last night and give them a chance to win. The guy did everything within his power to help this team win last night and then some. And that's exactly what we needed from him last night. And I do hope that, come Game 2, the Hurricanes are supporting their goalie a little bit better, because there are definitely some instances within this game as well that they left Raanta out to dry several times throughout this game. And the deeper you go into the playoffs, you should never do that to begin with, but it becomes more and more detrimental to be doing that, because, looking at last night's game, if I remember correctly, I think is Capo Cocknen. Who was it? I remember there was one Rangers player. He had a wide open net. I don't remember who it was, but we all remember the shot. He had a wide open net, and the puck was just wide. And had they scored on that, that's game. And that one goal now in the playoffs matters. And leaving your goalie out to dry on this one goal right here could be the difference in whether or not you win the game or whether or not you win the series. So the Hurricanes are really going to need to tighten up and avoid these slow starts, because that was something that was an issue in the Boston series, is an issue in Game 1. They were able to come back. Games 3 and 4, all the games in Boston, really. But that was an issue in the Boston series. And it had been an issue throughout the regular season of them getting off to slow starts. Cannot do that. And that's going to be a big thing for Game 2. Getting to the game early and not waiting 10, 15, 20, or in last night's case, 40 minutes to wake up and decide to play. Because your goalie can't do it every single time. And I think that the Hurricanes, they got lucky in that third period. The Rangers stepped away from their game that they were trying to play And the Hurricanes, in that third period, they came out of the gates the way they should have came out in the first period. They came out with a lot of fire and energy and intensity, and that's what they need to do the entire game, not just that third period. And again, as I keep saying, they were really lucky to only be down 1-0. And thankfully, in the latter stages of the third period, Sebastian Aho was able to get to the net and get one past Shesterkin and tied the game up. And the Hurricanes, they were able to hold strong and be able to force overtime. And then that was really big there, because then once you get to overtime, Ian Cole, he was able to get one past Shesterkin as well and win the game for the Hurricanes. That was his first career playoff OT goal, his second career playoff goal. And I've said all along, the team is at their best when you have guys up and down the lineup chipping in. And you look at the Aho goal, you had that top line there, Aho with the goal, Jarvis and Teravainen with the assist, and then in OT, Ian Cole with the goal, and then Brendan Smith and Jesper Kotkaniemi with the assist on there as well. So it's guys all over the roster chipping in on that score sheet. It's not just your top guys. You also got depth guys that you don't expect to score goals at all. Ian Cole is not a goal scorer, and he's a guy that just goes out there and plays defense. He's not one to score goals. So for him to be able to get a playoff OT winner, that's really, really cool. And that's something that we're going to need to continue to have going into game 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Obviously not Ian Cole, going out and scoring goals every night, but just the general idea there of, hey, it's not just your top guys doing it. Your guys that aren't supposed to score goals, they're out there chipping in as well. And I think that the Hurricanes, they can do that. I think they'll be fine. But this was not a perfect game. It was a pretty ugly win, but they're able to get the win nonetheless. And looking ahead to game 2 and what the Carolina Hurricanes need to work on, we've touched on it some already, but we're going to dive more in depth to it right after this quick break. Folks, it's springtime, it's warm out, summer's right around the corner, and if you're out enjoying the nice weather, whether it be walking at the lake, riding your bike, whatever it may be, you're eventually going to get hungry, and you're going to want a little bit of a snack. And Built Bar has you covered there with their new birthday cake puffs. And mine came in. I absolutely love them. They are so delicious. And of course, the Built Bar puffs are, of course, a marshmallow protein bar that is covered in 100% real chocolate. And not only is the puffs covered in 100% real chocolate, their other puffs flavors, as well as the regular Built Bars, are covered in 100% real chocolate as well. And there's going to be something for everyone, whether it's these birthday cake puffs, whether it's the churro puffs, whether it's the double chocolate bar, whether it's the salted caramel bar. There is going to be something for everyone with Built Bar. And of course, Built Bars are high fiber, high protein, low calorie, and low carb. So not only are they delicious, but they're good for you. And right now, you can go to Built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order when you use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Now, a quick look ahead to Game 2. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow with John from Locked On Rangers, but it's worth talking about right now as well because, again, I've touched on it some here, but this was not a pretty game by any means, and it really, outside of Antti Raanta and your to goal scorers, it wasn't really a whole lot of standout players. Yeah, Jacob Slavia plays some good defense, and Sebastian Aho, had his game-tying goal. Ian Cole had the game winner. But outside of those, there wasn't a whole lot of standout players. Again, your third period, you can kind of look at the team as a whole as much improved and coming out with a lot more energy and intensity. But there wasn't a whole lot of standout guys in this game, in my opinion. A lot of guys just looked asleep, tired, non-existent. So, and like I said, outside of Antti Ranta, not a whole lot of standout guys. So heading into game 2, I think you're going to need your top guys to be top guys. Again, I've said it many, many times, in this playoff, in the regular season, team is at their best swing. Everyone is chipping in, but you need your top guys to play like top guys, especially at this time of the year. You need that. And that is something that they're going to need in game 2. We know this team can push us. Even outside of last night, we know this team can push us, just going back to the regular season. So they need to bring their A game like they did in that third period. And that right there is another issue. They didn't bring their A game until the third period. These slow starts have got to stop, y'all. We cannot make a successful run for another Stanley Cup if the team isn't waking up until the second period, until the third period. Cannot do that. That is going to be extremely key for game 2. Waking up early and not waiting to start playing the game. And that is honestly probably the biggest thing for game 2, is avoiding those slow starts. And finally, I think one big thing that they're going to need to do for game 2 is rattle Shesterkin early. And I know that is going to be a very hard task. He's a likely Vezina winner and whatnot. But I think that is also going to go hand in hand with, avoiding those slow starts. They're going to have to get to him early and create pressure early. And, that game that we talked about, how the Hurricanes like to play, very fast, very physical, and, very tight man-to-man coverage, getting lots of shots on net and all that stuff. That's what they're going to have to do very, very early, and don't let him settle into a groove. I always go back to this game when it comes to this, but when Alex Delkovich had his shutout here in Raleigh, I said to my girlfriend maybe about halfway through the second period or so that the game was over. I could watch Ned play and tell, all right, he's in his groove, we're done. And, we got lucky last night with Shesterkin, and Sebastian Aho, being able to sneak that one by. We got lucky there. That's not always going to happen, especially going against a goalie of his caliber. They're really going to have to get to him early and not let him settle in. If they can do all that, I think that they'll be fine. But again, there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to game 2 and what the Carolina Hurricanes can do, what they need to do, and what the Rangers need to do as well. And we will talk about that in tomorrow's episode with John from Locked On New York Rangers. But in the meantime, the award season nominees are starting to come out, and we have one Carolina Hurricane up for nomination, and we will talk about that right after this quick break. Game 2 between the Carolina Hurricanes and New York Rangers is on Friday, and if you want to place your bets on this game, you can do so with our partners at BetOnline. Our partners there at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. From the latest odds, news, and sports development, including this year's basketball playoffs, hockey playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures, BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, folks, as I mentioned, the awards nominees are coming in, and we finally have our first Carolina Hurricane getting nominated, and that is, of course, Jacob Slavin getting nominated for the Lady Byng Award for the second year in a row. He won it last year, and this is, obviously it's not, an award, like Rocket Richard Trophy, but I still think it's a very important award, and it really says a lot of just the kind of player he is. He is a good sportsman award, and we all know how good of a player Jacob Slavin is. I mean that not in the terms of his skill level. We all know he's there, but in terms of the way he plays, he is not a dirty player. He is not one that takes a whole host of penalties. It's very odd to see him even take one. And, obviously, whenever he does, folks will have fun with it on social media. They'll be like, oh, noted coon Jacob Slavin taking another penalty. Because they all know, just this guy plays a very clean game. He doesn't go out there take a bunch of penalties. He doesn't go out there dirty plays or anything like that. It's not his style. And I do think that, you look at Jacob Slavin, yet again getting nominated for this. I think it's very, very good for him. I really enjoy this, and he can be the first one since Martin St. Louis, since I believe 2010 and 2011 to win it in back-to-back years, and first defenseman to do it since the 50s. So I really hope he can obviously get it done and take home yet another Lady Byng Award, because the man is very, very deserving. Because, again, we all know just the kind of player that he is. And, he is a very good sportsman to his teammates, to opposing players, and to fans as well. And I do feel that that's something that sometimes gets overlooked. Obviously, we are very spoiled here in Raleigh, and the access that we have to players here and how easy it can be to see these guys and communicate with them, talk to them, and whatnot. So we're obviously spoiled when it comes to that. And other fans, of other teams don't necessarily have that luxury. But with Jacob Slavin, whenever you do talk to him, he is not one that it's a, hey, how are you doing? Sign whatever, move right along. No, he's a guy that's going to have a conversation with you. And, he's a very good sportsman, on the ice. And he's a good ambassador for the organization off the ice. And I think that's very important as well, of just how he treats his fans off the ice as well. And of course, congratulations to the other nominees, Kyle Connor and Jared Spurgeon. Congratulations to them as well. But I think, Jacob Slavin, I personally think he's probably going to go 2 years in a row winning this. Because, again, we all know the kind of player that he is. And, I think he's the right he's the right guy for this. But in the meantime, all we can do now in terms of the playoffs is wait for Friday. And, the Hurricanes got a lot of regrouping too. They got some issues to fix, but ultimately I do think they can do it. I think that, you look at last night's game, you look at that Boston series, home ice is very crucial. And I think that the Hurricanes, they have a lot to be thankful for on not only their play on the ice, but that home ice advantage as well, and the fans there in the stands. Because you look at that Boston series, how they played when they went up there, home ice played a big factor in that series. And I fully expect it to do the same here. But in the meantime, make sure you follow Locked On Hurricanes on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes. Myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. Rate the show 5 stars on whatever streaming platform you're listening on. And subscribe on YouTube. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode where we fully preview Game 2 against the New York Rangers.